Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the February 9th, 2021 regularly scheduled Port Clinton City Council meeting. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Jay Belo,
Present.
Pat Hovis,
Here.
Beth Gilman,
Present.
Roseanne Hickman,
Excused.
Lisa Sabodian,
Here.
Margaret Phillips,
Here.
and Jerry Trolley.
Present.
Thank you. Council, you previously received the January 26, 2021 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
And I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Trolley. Thank you, Ms. Phillips. I have a motion by Mr. Trolley, seconded by Ms. Phillips to approve the January 26, 2021 meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now let's see. The chair notes that certification has been made regarding compliance with the rules and notifications of this meeting. We have no guest presentation. We have no public comments. Executive officers reports. Council, there are two new items to be read this evening. First one is ordinance 3-21. Administration has asked if possible, and council feels that they can, to pass that on its second reading. I will be assigning that ordinance to finance also for discussion. Then there's a new resolution 21-1 that can proceed with the normal 3 readings, and I will also assign that to finance. Also, council, and it's listed under correspondence. We have a liquor license for Slater's. They are ASW Enterprise LLC, DBA Slater's Food and Spirits is, from what I can see, is just an address change. I did speak to Chief Hickman. He has no issues with that. And then there's a new liquor license for JR Seafood LLC, DBA Jolly Rogers Seafood. And I also spoke with Chief Hickman and he has no objection. So when we get to correspondence, if council so chooses, if they would take action on that this evening. And that is all I have this evening. Mayor Snyder.
Thank you, Madam President. How's everybody doing tonight? I had a couple of calls earlier today from both the Ottawa County Senior Resources and the CERT program. They are looking for individuals to assist with the vaccine clinics here in Ottawa County, specifically the one out at the Job and Family Services office. If you're so interested, I'm going to give you 2 phone numbers here. The first is Kim Sedlak, 419-898-6459, 898-6459. And the second is Sandy Hovest. Sandy's number is 419-602-7488, 602-7488. One of the unique things about volunteering, these are all in conjunction with the Ottawa County Health Department and the EMA, Ottawa County Emergency Management. There's a 99% chance that by volunteering, you'll get a vaccine the day that you volunteer. There's always people that don't show up, or they find, in a vaccine vial that they say has 5, they get a 6th one out of it. So if you're so inclined to volunteer, they need help. There's 2 clinics right now this week. The email I received stated that the week of the 15th, they're going to bump that up to as many as 4 or 5 and get progressively more and more as we work through the vaccines. The issues right now, as you might imagine, is just getting the vaccines in hand. Council, at the last meeting, I mentioned that I was invited to a informal mayor's discussion down in Fremont. It just so happens that the day that was scheduled was February 1st, and it turned out to be a snow day for everybody. So I wasn't able, they canceled it. They rescheduled it for this last Friday, and my schedule just didn't permit. The next informal discussion, I've thrown out some dates in May. So when that happens, I'll tell you what was discussed. Speaking of weather, I want to thank the members of the Port Clinton Fire Department, Chief Kent Johnson, paramedic Dana Brown, and paramedic Kevin Peliquin They took some hot chocolate out to Taft Hill for the kids when they were sledding the other day, and that was pretty cool. The looks on the kids' faces and the parents were very appreciative. As we talk about more snow, I want to thank the city crews for their efforts. They had a 48-hour Groundhog Day. It just seemed to never end. That was a time we had continuous snow that wasn't expected. They were out plowing literally 48 hours straight, not as individuals. That would be against some rules. But then on top of that, they had back-to-back water breaks on Groundhog Day, one in the morning and one late in the evening. So my kudos to those. Along with this discussion of cold weather and the freezes, the decision was made to suspend shutoffs this month. At the time that decision was made, there were approximately 21. And the reason we were thinking of not doing it was because if we were to shut the water off, there'd still be water in some of the pipes in the dwellings. And if it, with these single digit negative temperatures that we're having, we didn't want to compound any frozen pipes and any additional issues. And Trace, you can correct me on that, but earlier today we were down to 8 that were still on that shutoff list. So the others have come forward with their payments.
Correct.
Thank you. I also mentioned, I think it was an email, that work would begin with the city beach somewhere around Debbie Tester's property to dig the pits and bore underneath the road to get the power lines. Again, Mother Nature said, nope, you're not going to do that this week. The plan is to address it once everything thaws out, because First Energy is coming the first week in May to do the electrical portion. So we've got to get those things drawn up.
1st of March, Mike. Sorry to interrupt.
I say May? I'm sorry. Thank you. That's why you're here. Many of you assisted the city, and along with several dozen volunteers this past summer, we were at 4 different intersections or crosswalk areas in town. The City Beach, the Jet Express, down by Rich's drive-through on Portage and Fremont Road, and then in the parking lot of Mr. Ed's and the Commodore Perry Motel, counting vehicles and counting pedestrians. From those counts, 3 of those locations were looked at a little bit farther by ODOT. The one that wasn't, just because the numbers weren't there with pedestrians, was over by Rich's. Well, last week, of those 3 that they reviewed, they approved 1. And that would be the one on Lakeshore Drive between Ed's and Doc's Beach House. The thought process was that the other 2 locations already had a working signal. They're limited on funds. Doesn't mean that process is over. It's been suggested, and we plan on reapplying this fall to see if we can get those other 2 at the beach and the Jet Express put back on, and hopefully there's funds available for that. Mom, a lot of questions have been coming to me. Hey, what's happening with Mom Meals and Music on Madison? Is that going to happen? And the plan is yes, but we need a little bit more participation from downtown and others outside the downtown community to make it happen. When I say we, I don't want to call it a committee or a steering group. It's just kind of been a discussion group of about 6-7 people that have working with the chamber, and Mr. Colson's involved, folks in the music industry, worked out a plan. We've had the first of 3 meetings with the downtown business community earlier today. There's another one scheduled for tomorrow at 6 p.m. and then Thursday at 10, all of them at the Our Guest Inn and Suites to walk everyone through the plan, get feedback, make some adjustments. And we're hoping to have a final go, no go, for the lack of a better term, March 1st. Based on what I heard from this first meeting, it's going to be a go. It's just at what level Mom will happen. Participated, and Mr. Bilo was on part of this conversation with Larry Fletcher from the Lake Erie Shores and Islands Welcome Center, as well as representatives from both Erie County and Ottawa County, and individual municipalities within each of those counties on collaboration on bed tax. And this initial meeting was just to open discussion on, hey, is there some interest in collaborating on helping to identify these vacation rental by owner properties and working on a pathway to collect identify, collect, and record the bed taxes for those properties. And there were no objections. We're taking it to the next step. A subcommittee's been formed to do a little bit more research, make a presentation to this group, and then we're going to take it to all of the political subdivisions and welcome them in. When I say that, the townships and the villages that weren't represented in this initial conversation. So there's much more to happen there. Again, I don't anticipate anything official coming to you all yet this calendar year, but it may be late fourth quarter as an outset that may happen. I want to thank those of you that attended the lease signing for the art garage. This is going to be an amazing addition to our not only our western downtown area, but the entire community and in the entire region. The first phase of the revitalization of that building is targeted at $1.2 million. And they think they have a lock on most of those funds through grants, donations. You'll see a lot more coming out about that. They're working with some pretty substantial folks in the grant writing, the art world. There's some really neat stuff happening with that property. As you may know, there was a 50-year lease signed, and Mr. Hatfield has on his desk a check paying for all 50 years of their lease. So they're committed to making that happen. The last council meeting, I mentioned that Mr. Colson and I would be meeting with the Maple family to discuss the concession stand at Lakeview Park. Some health reasons push that back a little bit. We're meeting with them tomorrow night at 5. So I'll get some more information on that. They're very much interested. It's just getting that information put on paper. Earlier tonight, the tree commission met. The plan is that by the first meeting of March, they'll have some information that I can present to you all on the tree purchases that they're going to strive for this calendar year. There'll be some information on how individuals or families or groups or organizations can sponsor, but it's a pretty comprehensive plan to again get some more trees back into our community, because we've had to remove so many because of the age of those. And then finally, and my notes say pause for applause. Finally, there's been quite a bit of questions come to myself and Nicole Kokensparger over at the Chamber Main Street office about festivals and events in the community. Is the city going to allow fill in the blank festival? And the answer from myself and Mr. Colson is absolutely. It's a much bigger issue, though, in the age of COVID. Background: in late 2020, the Ohio legislature passed a bill that in essence lifted all of the restrictions Governor DeWine placed on festivals and events. Governor DeWine vetoed that, and there weren't enough votes to override the veto. But in lieu of that, Governor DeWine has created a task force, much like he's done with restaurants and shops and sporting events and so forth, to come out with some parameters on how festivals and events can take place in the state of Ohio. The downside to that is no one anticipates those findings to be released until mid to late April. So in the meantime, we're encouraging all of the festival and event organizers to continue planning as normal, but also keep in mind some of the existing things that are already out there in other entities: social distancing, maybe relocating the event, more space, not as many vendors, whatever it might be, in addition to having something called a COVID plan, which will be approved by the Ottawa County Board of Health. And we're going to add the paperwork to the event form for this year, so people can put in that COVID plan. And it could be a discussion on how are you going to keep people socially distant? How are you going to make sure that they wear masks? Things of that nature. We did have a Zoom meeting with all of the festival and event organizers that have submitted an event form to the city in 19 and 20. I think it went very, very well. I've had a few follow-up questions on that. Nicole Kokensparger at the Main Street office is very in tune with what's happening down in Columbus. As many of you know, the Walleye Festival is the 4th largest festival in the state of Ohio. It does so much to our community in general. You've all seen the numbers on the impact statement that was done a couple of years ago, and the funds that are generated from that are the sole source of income for the Main Street organization. So she's talking with the movers and shakers down in Columbus, the Ohio Festivals and Events Association, and another group that are spearheading all of this stuff with not only Governor DeWine's office, but the legislature to make sure that happens. So more to come. Again, we certainly would love to have the festivals, events. We all enjoy them. We all know what they mean to our community. So that's where we are right now. And with that, that ends my report this evening, unless someone has any questions.
One question. For where did we leave off in 2020 about renting city park space like shelter houses and recreation areas? What's the plan for this year for personal use?
That's still on hold, waiting Governor DeWine's mass gathering. We're still under a 10 or fewer order. I'm assumption here on my part that that's going to be part of what's coming out in April.
Okay. So your hope is that you'll be able to say, do a form and people would be able to reserve the
Just like
Lakeview Park shelter houses they may have in the past, right? For this.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Within the parameter set. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Thank you, Mayor Snyder. We'll move on to the auditor's report.
Nothing
Mr.
to
Hack.
say, Madam President.
Nothing, okay. Treasurer's report, bed tax is at $3,289.68, and dock tax is at $700, realizing that it starts over January 1st. So, Law Director,
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
thank you. Mr. Colston.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I want to give an update on the water programs that we have. On the H2O program right now, there's 31 people who have signed up for that program. Since the last time that we talked, there's only been one new person that was denied. They do not own the home, and they were told that. The homeowner called and the renter has been told that they could not get it because they do not own the home. So that brings a total of 4 people, or actually it's 3. There's one person that's 65 in July, and then they know, and Julie has a tickler to give him a call, and we'll set him up in July when he turns 65. So there's really 3 people that have been denied, and they were all basically because they didn't own their home. And they log every service report. So from 1/12/21 to 2/8/21, we had approximately 45 calls. 1/3 of those were for about the H2O program. And the other ones were strictly about the infrastructure fee. There were some negatives that, why are we doing this? What's it for? Some people didn't know. She again told them to watch the video. That helped in a lot of situations. So it seems like that is definitely slowing down. Obviously, people are paying because we only have 8 people on the shut-off list. So that's a very good sign as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if council has been getting any calls. Julie said, please call her if you have any questions on it, or you can call myself, and before you call them back, if you want to know for sure, please go ahead and do that. So that's kind of where we have what we've had. And like I said, they do a great job of detailing all the comments and things that are said. So any questions off of that for me, please?
Mr. Colston, thanks for the information. I had one call from a constituent who lived down on the east end on 2nd Street who inquired, among other things, about the owning the property requirement that was approved, and what all and how property owners who may call Port Clinton a second home, how they are contributing to the infrastructure program, because everybody is getting that fee, whether or not they rely on that as their full-time home. So he was looking for ways that the city could increase revenue by relying on some, visitors that come into the community every year. So I tried to explain that to him. I think that was helpful, and we'll keep talking to him. But that's the only thing I have to report in the program.
That's
you
it
answer?
then, Madam President. Go ahead.
Mr. Colston, can you answer one other question? We probably heard about in Florida how the one water department was hacked and lye was, somebody tried to put lye into the water on a huge amount, but it was stopped because some very smart person figured it out. Are we open to that sort of thing, or is ours a closed concert for Port
Well,
Clinton?
I can't answer how the water's produced out there specifically. I think that was something to do with the computer situation, I believe. But that's one of the things that we've been working on. We've talked about before from the EPA about the backflow preventers. Mr. Peterson is huge on that to make sure that people cannot get in the system and it will not come back into the system. It'll close it off. So that's what the backflow preventer would take care of to keep it out of the system. So yes, we are. I believe Mr. Peterson's on top of that. Very good.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else tonight,
That's-
Mr. Cole?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, move on to committee reports. Mr. Bealow, Finance.
Thank you, Madam President. There'll be a Finance Committee meeting 6:30 this Thursday. So that's February 11th at 6:30, and that will be held via Zoom. That information should be available hopefully tomorrow.
Thank you. Economic and Community Development,
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Safety Services, Ms. Phillips.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you. Arts and Culture, Mrs. Gilman.
Nothing tonight, Mrs. Sardi. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, under correspondence, we have the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, Jolly Rogers new permit, and the one for Slater's that is amended address, the 2020 Port Clinton Police Department annual report, and Architectural Review Board minutes from December 17th that were previously emailed to all of council. Does council wish to take any action as to the correspondence this evening?
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Bealow?
on the notification to legislative authority from the Division of Liquor Control, I move the council waive its right to object to those filed by Jolly Roger and by Slater's.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Bealow to waive the hearing for the liquor permits for Jolly Rogers and Slater's. Do I have a second? Or I'm sorry, Ms. Phillips,
will.
second. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Madam President,
Yes.
council should do everything it can to promote restaurants in this case into vacant properties that have been vacant for quite a while. So this is certainly in line with that, and I look forward to seeing both of those establishments open at their new locations, and I wish them the best.
Thank you. Okay, would the clerk please call the roll as to waiving the hearing for the mentioned liquor permits?
Jerry Trolley,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips,
Yes,
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Kate Bealow,
Yes.
and Lisa Sabodian.
Yes. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. And then if the clerk will please sign the appropriate paperwork and mail that out and copy the chief on that also, if you would.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Does council wish to take any further action as to the correspondence?
Move to approve the correspondence as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Bealow. Do I have a second?
second.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. We have a motion by Mr. Bealow, seconded by Ms. Phillips to approve the correspondence as stated. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Okay, motion carries. The correspondence are approved. We'll move on to readings of ordinances and resolution. We have a third reading on ordinance 1-21. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only, ordinance 1-21.
Ordinance number 1-21, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to advertise for bids and enter into a contract for the construction of the Safe Routes to School project and to advertise for qualifications and enter into a contract for construction management services for the project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action as to ordinance 1-21 this evening?
Madam President,
Mr. Bealow?
move to retain the emergency clause on ordinance 121.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilman. Any discussion? Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Bealow to retain the emergency clause as to ordinance 1-21, seconded by Mrs. Gilman. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Lisa Sabodian,
Yes.
Jerry Trolley,
Yes.
Gabe Belo,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Margaret Phillips.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 6-0, and the emergency clause is hereby retained as to ordinance 1-21. Does council wish to take any further action as to ordinance 1-21?
Madam President,
Mr. Bealow,
move to adopt ordinance 121.
do I have a second?
I second. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Trolley. Any discussion? Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Bealow, seconded by Mr. Trolley to adopt ordinance 1-21. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Margaret Phillips,
Yes.
Beth Gilman,
Yes.
Gabe Belo,
Yes.
Pat Hovis,
Yes.
Lisa Sabodian,
Yes.
Jerry Trolley.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 1-21 is hereby adopted with a vote of 6-0. We have no second readings. We have a first reading of ordinance 3-21. This is the one that's assigned to finance. Would the clerk please read by title and summary only, ordinance 3-21?
Ordinance number 3-21, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Safety and Service to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with Fraternal Order of Police Lodge number 79 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Does council wish to take any action this evening as to ordinance 3-21? Seeing none, ordinance 3-21 will be moved to its second reading on February 23rd, 2021. We have a first reading for resolution 21-1. Will the clerk please read by title and summary only? Resolution 21-1. This one was also assigned to finance.
Resolution number 21-1, a resolution declaring it necessary to renew an existing 1.9 mil tax levy and requesting the Ottawa County Auditor to certify the total current tax valuation of the city and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated by that renewal levy pursuant to section 5705.19 of the revised codes and declaring an emergency.
Fortunate enough to help last Friday. It really is not hard work. You're helping register people, directing where they need to go. And I was fortunate enough to get my first vaccine. And my second is due February 26th. Also, Mr. Colston, again, your street crew is doing one heck of a job out there in some pretty bad conditions. And that
Thank you all.
includes the water crew.
Thank you. I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Ms. Slobodian,
Nothing at this time, Madam President.
thank you. Ms. Hovis,
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
thank you. Mr. Bealow,
Nothing tonight, Madam President. Thanks.
thank you. I believe that's all we have. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I move this August body adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll
I
second.
s-
Thank you, Mr. Trolley. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Stay
Thank
warm.
you.
Thank you.
Good
Beth, how you
night.
feeling?
Mm.
I'm feeling 99.999% better. Still have a cough and some headaches, but I'm almost